Hello MotoGP enthusiasts. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Pedro Acosta led a short and post-race MotoGP test at Barcelona, but the day was overshadowed by Jorge Martín's heavy fall that required hospital checks. Rain ended the test early after Acosta set the fastest time in the morning, while Martín's Turn 7 crash added to a weekend already marked by multiple incidents. Marc Márquez successfully underwent surgery to stabilize a fractured right clavicle after his high-speed crash at the Catalan Grand Prix. The operation at the Hospital General de Catalunya was reported as successful, and Márquez will be discharged to begin rehabilitation while further tests assess a marginal cervical fracture. Marc Márquez watched Alex's terrifying Catalan Grand Prix crash from home and responded with relief after medical updates showed injuries were serious but manageable. The elder Márquez, recovering from his own recent surgeries, posted a simple message of gratitude as the paddock processed a weekend marked by multiple high-speed incidents. Jorge Martín suffered a heavy fall during the post-race Catalunya MotoGP test at Montmeló, was immobilized on track and taken to hospital by ambulance. Initial hospital checks found no fractures, and Martín later thanked medical staff. But the incident capped a weekend already marked by multiple crashes and raised fresh concerns about rider fatigue and circuit grip. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. The official Catalunya test began in dry conditions and produced competitive lap times before heavy rain arrived at lunchtime. Organizers ended the day an hour early after the paddock decided it was unsafe to continue in the wet. Pedro Acosta topped the times with a /1:38.767 set in the third hour. Fabio Quartararo was second after trying a new aero fairing. Short, wet tests favor riders who get their runs in early. Teams with limited new parts or setups lost valuable track time when the session was halted. Jorge Martín crashed at Turn 7 during the morning running, bringing out red flags and requiring an ambulance transfer to the medical center and then a local hospital for further checks. It was Martín's sixth fall of the Barcelona weekend. Initial reports confirmed no fractures. He finished the day 17th on the test time sheet. Repeated crashes in a single weekend increase concern about rider fatigue and confidence. Even without broken bones, cumulative impacts and soft tissue injuries can affect short-term performance. Beyond Acosta and Quartararo, Enea Bastianini, Maverick Vinales and Raul Fernandez posted competitive times, while Fermin Aldeguer impressed on a GP25 spec machine. Pecco Bagnaia and Marco Bezzecchi were further down the order as teams focused on race distance work and setup validation. VR46 elected to rest Fabio Di Gianantonio after his hand injury, so he did not participate. With the 1,000 cubic centimeters aero tests winding down, teams prioritized aero trials, tire work and race simulations. Any new fairings or maps were validated only briefly before the rain curtailed running. Acosta's top time underlines KTM's strong pace in mixed conditions and gives the team useful data heading into the next rounds. Quartararo's aero trial suggests Yamaha continues to iterate aggressively on the V4 package. Martín's crash, while not producing fractures, deprives Aprilia of further on-track feedback from a rider who has been pushing hard all weekend. Early season development gains are often incremental. Lost test time due to weather can delay validation of changes and force teams to rely on simulator and test bench work. The Catalunya test delivered a useful, if abbreviated, snapshot of development directions. KTM and Yamaha showed encouraging signs, while several riders and teams lost time to incidents or weather. Martín's crash will be monitored for any lingering effects, and teams will regroup to analyze the limited data gathered. With the test cut short, expect targeted follow-up work at private tests and the next race weekend to confirm any promising changes. Márquez suffered a violent crash on the back straight at Montmeló after colliding with Pedro Acosta's slowing KTM. His Ducati was launched and flipped multiple times before coming to rest. Medical teams treated him trackside. He was taken to the Circuit Medical Center and then transferred to hospital for scans. High-speed mechanical slowdowns in the slipstream create extremely dangerous scenarios and produced one of the weekend's most serious incidents. Surgeons stabilized Márquez's broken right clavicle with a plate during an operation performed the night of the crash. Team doctors described the procedure as successful, and the rider was cleared to leave hospital once post-op checks were complete. Clavicle fixation with a plate is a standard surgical approach that allows early controlled rehabilitation and predictable healing in most cases. Initial imaging identified a marginal fracture to the C7 vertebra. Medical staff will perform further specialist evaluations next week to determine whether conservative treatment or additional intervention is required. The cervical injury is being managed cautiously to avoid premature decisions about return to riding. Cervical fractures demand multidisciplinary assessment. Recovery timelines vary widely depending on stability and neurological findings. Márquez posted from hospital appearing alert and upbeat, thanking medical staff and supporters. Gresini Racing confirmed the surgical team and said he would be discharged to begin rehabilitation. The rider's tone was positive, but the team emphasized that definitive recovery milestones will depend on further scans. Everything's under control. I couldn't be in better hands. Early optimism is encouraging, but specialist reports will set realistic return expectations. Márquez's absence will affect Gresini's immediate race plans and technical feedback loop. The team will name a replacement rider if required and focus on supporting his rehabilitation. Medical updates over the coming days will clarify whether the C7 fracture needs surgery and provide a clearer timeline for his comeback. Recovery from clavicle surgery typically spans weeks to months. Any cervical involvement can extend that window and will be managed conservatively unless instability or neurological signs demand otherwise. Alex Márquez's clavicle surgery was successful and he will return home to begin rehabilitation, while further tests will determine the final plan for his C7 fracture. The priority for Gresini and the paddock is a careful, specialist-led recovery before any discussion of a return to competition. Marc was absent from Montmello after recent foot and shoulder surgery. He followed the weekend's events from Madrid and was visibly shaken by the sequence of crashes that included his brother Alex's high-speed impact on the back straight and Johan Zarco's later fall. After positive medical bulletins, Marc shared a short social post. "Today I can only give thanks. Watching a close family member suffer a major crash from afar is emotionally intense. Marc's public gratitude reflects relief rather than triumph." Alex collided with Pedro Acosta's KTM after a sudden mechanical slowdown, which launched his Ducati into multiple flips. He was treated trackside and transferred to hospital. Scans revealed a marginal cervical fracture and a broken right clavicle. Surgeons stabilized the clavicle with a plate, and further evaluation of the neck injury is ongoing. Immediate surgical stabilization of the clavicle was successful. The cervical injury will determine the longer recovery timeline. Marc had recently undergone surgery on his foot and shoulder and is prioritizing a careful return to fitness. The weekend's events reinforced his focus on recovery and family. His social media message conveyed gratitude for the medical teams and relief that the injuries were not worse. Riders recovering from surgery often balance eagerness to return with the need for measured rehabilitation. Family incidents can shift priorities toward caution. The crashes reignited debate about restart procedures and rider safety. Several riders called for stronger participation in the safety commission so collective rider voices can influence restart rules and other protocols. Marc's reaction added emotional weight to those calls, underlining how quickly competitive weekends can become safety discussions. High-profile incidents typically accelerate conversations about procedure changes and rider representation in safety governance. Alex will continue specialist assessments to decide whether further intervention is needed for his cervical fracture. His clavicle recovery will follow standard post-op rehabilitation. Marc's public support and the family's presence in the paddock will be important for morale as medical teams define recovery timelines. The immediate priority remains medical stability and careful rehabilitation. Return to riding dates will be set only after full specialist clearance. Marc Márquez's short, grateful message captured the paddock mood after a weekend of frightening incidents. Relief that injuries were not worse, respect for the medical teams, and renewed calls for stronger rider involvement in safety decisions. The focus now is on Alex's recovery and ensuring riders' voices shape future safety measures. Martin's accident came after nearly 2 hours of testing, exiting turn 7, a section of the Barcelona circuit notorious for its lack of grip and awkward camber. He had completed 15 laps before losing control, sliding into the gravel and triggering a red flag. Medical teams responded immediately, immobilizing him with a neck brace and transporting him by ambulance to the Circuit Medical Center before his transfer to Dexius Hospital for further evaluation. Examinations focused on Martin's left elbow and right leg, both of which had taken the brunt of the impact. Hospital reports confirmed no fractures, though doctors will continue monitoring for ligament or soft tissue damage. Martin was conscious throughout, and later posted a message of gratitude to the medical staff. Once again, "I'm grateful to be okay after a nasty crash. Thanks to the circuit doctors. Their reaction was impressive." This was Martin's 6th crash of the Barcelona weekend, adding to falls in practice, qualifying, the sprint, and the Grand Prix. Despite showing flashes of speed, he left Montmello without points, his championship gap to Marco Bezzecchi widening. The repeated incidents highlight both the difficulty of adapting to the Aprilia RSGP under low-grip conditions and the mental toll of pushing at the limit. Martin admitted the weekend was emotionally draining, especially after witnessing serious accidents involving Alex Marquez and Johan Zarco. Returning to the track after seeing ambulances and injured colleagues is mentally taxing, and repeated personal crashes compound that strain. Confidence, rhythm, and decision-making can all be affected. For Aprilia, the challenge is balancing Martin's resilience and determination with the need to protect his long-term health and performance. Aprilia publicly thanked the circuit medical staff for their swift intervention and confirmed Martin's condition was stable. Engineers will now review telemetry and crash data to understand whether setup factors contributed to the falls. The team must decide whether Martin should rest before the next round or continue development work with a lighter schedule. His social media update conveyed relief and gratitude rather than alarm, suggesting he remains mentally strong despite the setbacks. Martin's Catalunya test crash adds to one of the most tense weekends of the season, but crucially, scans showed no fractures. The immediate priorities are medical monitoring, soft tissue recovery, and rebuilding rider confidence. Aprilia will combine medical guidance with technical analysis to decide whether Martin requires reduced running or a reset before the next race. His determination remains evident, but the team's challenge is to channel that drive safely into consistent results rather than repeated crashes. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!